Hello and welcome to the Footy Mailbag. My name is Damo and here with me is Clarky. How you going, mate?
Hey, Damo, I got a question for the mailbag this week.
Yeah, go
Hey,
on.
what happened on the weekend, hey? Hey, what happened?
Certainly wasn't
Saturday,
football.
1:20 p.m. at the MCG, something happened?
No, but to be serious, where me and Minnie we ribbed you hard. Well, not hard, but we did say some things, and
Nah, you
and
guys were
and
fine.
and one of the things we were like is like they'll get good, but not this week. And well, apparently it was this week, which was
Yeah.
great. And Cozzy Pickett decided to do it all on his own.
Hey. Harry Petty also kicked 4 goals. And I just want the record to show I've never said a bad word about Simon. I've never said a bad word about Harrison Petty. Both of them fine gentlemen in the footballing world.
Yeah,
No,
I have audio proof against that.
Hey, you know what? It was just really good to be on the winning side for once. I ended up going to the game. We took my daughter. She got to see her first ever Melbourne win, and it was in person. She was at the game. She managed to last all the way through. She had a nap at halftime, despite it being loud at the MCG. I was very proud of my little 6-month angel. And I always like the Freo games. And you say that you and Minnie were giving me stick, but I think it's very funny. I always find with Freo fans, because
a lot of
Freo
stick
and
to give.
Melbourne, Freo and Melbourne have the same kind of problems going on. Like, we both hate our coach. We both have a list that we like, but we have people who are playing in positions who we don't think they're suited for, or people who are playing in the reserves league, whichever, the Waffle or the VFL, that should be getting opportunities. And you know what? Credit to Simon. He threw out the forward line of old and brought in a new look forward line, and it worked. It works.
Yeah, to be honest, you would think watching the game would be the most frustrating part, but I made the mistake of watching the press conference afterwards, the Justin Longmuir's press conference afterwards, and that just made me more angry.
Yeah.
I know he's not the most media savvy guy, but the media was asking some pretty good questions, and his answers did not fill me with confidence. I know he's on a alternative employment arrangement or whatever they called it, but
He's casual. Just call it what it is. He's casual.
He might not have any employment arrangement if they pull out that shit again.
Good friend of our show, I'll say, because she is one of my fellow wonderful co-hosts over at the Falcon, Cass Daly. She said that maybe his part-time employment should just start including working at the merch store, the Docker store, whatever the equivalent of the Demon Shop is at the MCG. That's where he should be spending the rest of his employment with the Fremantle Football Club.
Yeah. Anyway, Supercoach happened as well. And
Unfortunately.
This is a Supercoach. Yeah, unfortunately. What caught your eye this week, mate?
What bloody caught my eye, Damo? What bloody caught my eye is that sometimes Supercoach delivers you when you need it the most, a reality check. That sometimes you just goofed. Last week, we spoke a lot about our trades with our good friend Minnie Monk of the coaches panel. He was very, very hot on Rosie, which was, all things considered, a correct decision. Now, I had the option of bringing in either Connor Rosie or Nick Dacos. It would have been exactly the same trades. It just would have been a Nick Dacos instead of a Connor Rosie. Now, I opted for Connor Rosie because I said, Nick Dacos, 120 break even. What are the chances Brisbane are just going to let him do whatever the hell he wants with the football? What are the chances? Like 120, easily achievable, but maybe he goes 130. Maybe he goes 135 at the most with a really, really good game. And Damo, what happened this week was Nick Dacos came out and scored 172 Supercoach points and essentially put his heel on my Supercoach soul and went, "You doubted me, you piece of dirt. How dare you do this? I am now punishing you." And that is what caught my eye this week, is that sometimes you zig when you should have zagged, and that's okay, because Connor Rosie still scored 103, which is really good for his position. Port were quite dominant in that game as well, and he had the role. So it's not all bad. However, it would have been nice to have that 172, and I saw plenty of people around the leagues having the VC on Dacos, and well done. Honestly, if you had him and you backed that in, Brisbane were just letting him do everything. You watched the game, Damo? He was basically spinning the ball in his finger, and they weren't stopping him.
And Chris Fagan said they had a plan. Jared Berry said they had a plan. They avoided the questions post-game when they were asked if the plan worked.
I love that. What was the plan? The plan to ignore him?
It was all very comical because there's like an interview with Jared Berry after the game where someone asks, did the plan work? And Jared Berry literally replies with, I don't know. I'm going to give you a clue there, Jared. No, the plan did not work.
You know, he's not paid to make the plans. Jared Berry is there. He's an execution man, all right? He's not there to analyze the results. Fair play to him on that one, Damo. Fair play to him. What had caught your eye this week, though?
Look, very, very similar things, actually. So I had the chance to get Dacos or Rosie, just like you, and I could either hold Davidson and trade Humphrey and get Dacos, or trade Davidson and hold Humphrey and get Rosie. It leaves me with about the same amount of money left in the bank. It's just that extra 50k or whatever it was between Davidson and Humphrey got me to Dacos instead of leaving me with Rosie as the best option. Well, Bailey Humphrey did not reach his break-even, so he lost money.
He did not.
Sam Davidson actually looked very good against St Kilda and beat his high break-even, and now has a few more weeks of money-making to come.
He does.
And I don't have Dacos in my team, and I have no fucking idea how to get him in.
Isn't it good, this beautiful game that we play? This wonderful, beautiful game that we play. Yeah, look, we here in the mailbag, we're big on don't sweat the decisions that you make. You only, most of the time, have a 50-50 shot of picking the quote-unquote optimal, right? So if we're talking in this trade, I pretty much did the same trade to you, Damo, but I'm going to take the positives out of it, and I'll share these positives. I noticed that Tom Gross was named as the sub, so I actually reversed my trade and I brought in Mitch Nevitt. Yes, Mitch Nevitt didn't reach his break-even, but I saved a boost. So I still have 3 boosts as of the time of recording, which is great. That's a positive. In the end, I put my captain on Lockie Whitfield, as I said on the podcast last week. Lockie Whitfield's got 145. That's fantastic. Any other week, I would have been absolutely ecstatic with that. So I think it's you know what, find your wins as much as your weaknesses. Right, Damo?
Sure. Clarky, why are the rookies bad again?
Because rookie no good. See, rookie make you think good, but not good. Rookie never good. Except Riley Bice. Riley Bice, rookie good.
And Levi Ashcroft.
Levi Ashcroft, also good. Yeah.
Let me run through some rookie scores from the weekend. Zach Reed, 38. Luke Traynor, 2. Xavier Lindsay, 55. Actually, not bad. You know what? He's fine. Caden Cleary, one of the top rookie option trade-ins from last week, 30. Isaac Kako also got to 55.
Oh.
He beat his break-even and has kept it still quite low for this week, but I don't have great hope in him scoring well against Collingwood on Anzac Day, so he might be one on the chopping block for a lot of people this week, but and then lots of DNPs as well. Tom Gross, Sardell Hooley got the sub-vest. I mean, Trainers 2 was as a result of the sub-vest. There's just...
Yeah, Finn O'Sullivan as well, at 28, was pretty upsetting for owners. I don't know, Damo. You can't ever predict these rookies, right? And we need to have them. That's the thing. These are the rookies that are currently generating any kind of money. They're not there to score, they're there to make cash. So sometimes you just got to take a bad week, I think, because once again, let's talk upside. Like we said last week, Xavier Lindsay scored 55. Not so good.
But he reset his break even after that
Exactly.
9 in his cycle. And now he's probably got the greatest job security aside from Bison Ashcroft and Kako maybe than all the other rookies. So he's gonna now make another 100K before we really need to move him, and at
Fingers
that
crossed.
point it's going to be Melbourne's buy. So he's entered a scenario where he's got a bit more money to come. We can hold him, perfect. But then you've got guys like Christian Moraes who's struggling to get to his break even and didn't even reach it on the weekend and still has a pretty achievable break even, by most of the other rookie standards, but they keep changing his role mid game.
Yeah, he
So
seems to be a bit of an everyman.
he got to like he got to like 20 points in the first quarter against Sydney and then only scored like 10 points for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's tough to see. It's tough to see. I think Moraes is probably going to be one of the number one trade-outs for this week. I've seen a lot of people looking at the current trend of most traded outs in my team. Luke Trainer seems to be the most traded out player in my team. Currently traded out by 17.4% of people, which is a lot.
It is. Luke Trainer for me sits in a similar basket to where Xavier Lindsay was a few weeks ago. My gut feel says to hold him. That too will come out of his price cycle, and he'll lose 20 to 30K, maybe, but his break even is 74. He can pass that.
Yeah, I think quite easy. Melbourne as well have been giving up a lot of points to defenders, so I think this will probably be another pretty good scenario, hopefully, with Melbourne's new look, allegedly forward line with Bailey Fridge coming back in, because teams have been announced for Anzac Eve. Bailey Fridge has come back in for Daniel Turner, who was dropped due to concussion. Does that really affect it? I think Melbourne's delivery inside forward 50 was actually still probably pretty good. For defenders, it was a little bit sloppy at times, although it was working thanks to some pure grit. So I think Trainer probably does have a pretty good excuse to stay, but I can understand why people would be trading him. I'd be tempted to if I didn't own Finn O'Sullivan and Moraes.
Yeah, there's two sides of the coin with the Luke Trainer. If you don't have a clear upgrade, if he doesn't get you to a clearly dropped in value premium, then I think he's a hold until that 2 works out of his cycle. But if he is your ticket to, say, Tom Stewart, if you feel confident that Tom Stewart can turn around his form, or a Christian Petrarca, or a Chad Warner, same thing, if you're confident he can turn around his form, then I would say that's fine. That's good to do now. And buying while these players are low is, the smart way to play the game. And we'll talk about some of the more expensive guys in just a moment, but the other thing that I'm noticing is Matt Carroll is the only rookie on the bubble this week, or really the only bookie on the bubble worth considering, and there's not really a lot of other guys coming through. I mean, there's guys that had one price rise, like Will White. His price rise, his break even is minus 47 or something. Or like something really nice for his price. So there's guys coming through, and Neil Erasmus, with Jager O'Meara injured for the Dockers, we could see Neil Erasmus come through and finally play his third game, but the sub-vest looms for him, whether it's at the beginning of the game or at the end of the game, so that could stifle that as well. So it really feels like we're reaching a point where we have to get creative with our cash generation.
So, in the spirit of being creative, this idea was brought to me not by myself, not by my own little brain sickles, but one Patch. Patch was asking me about the viability of one Charles Spargo. Now, Charlie Spargo has played 4 games for the D's with scores of 33, -2, 46 and a 70 against Freo. Melbourne play Richmond, West Coast and Hawthorn in the next 3, and then follow that up with Brisbane, Sydney and St Kilda. So it's pretty good. and then it gets real bad real quick for Melbourne. So that's another reason why I'm relishing this win. Suck it all of Fremantle. His current break even is minus 28. So he's 149, 400. I investigated this after Patch asked me about his viability. The biggest concern for Charlie Spargo is that he is sub-risk, which is where the -2 came from, I believe. And he is also very droppable from Simon. So you might only get 1 week, and that week might be a 40 this week against Richmond, or it might be a little bit more. If he continues to hold his grit, I think in a world where you see guys like Kim and Cade Chandler sort of step up a little bit more with their intensity as smaller type forwards and wingers, there is a world where that could be a play this week. I can see the reasoning behind that, because ideally he remains best 22, but that only depends on if he's playing well.
Yeah, we're going to have to get creative, and Matt Carroll, I say, is the only rookie really on the bubble worth considering, but Lockie Cowan breathes down his neck and is now available pending fitness testing towards, tomorrow. I was going to say towards the end of the week, but basically now. So
we record on a Wednesday, so the rest of the week.
Yeah, so he might not even hold his spot, which complicates some people's trade plans entirely. Matthew Flynn came back and scored a 140 plus. People are sort of jumping back onto him, hoping that he can hold on to that role for a little bit. He only really needs, 4 weeks or so in that team to really max out in price, as long as he continues to score hundreds. And they gave Bailey Williams 4 weeks, and he was doing nothing. So hopefully Matthew Flynn can at least get the same sort of grace, and we can at least have some money generating from someone.
It's tough out there. It's pretty barren. It's pretty barren out there in rookie world at the moment, Damo. So I'm really interested to see what our beloved listeners in the beloved community has to come out of this.
Yeah, so a little player came back on the weekend. He, I don't know if anyone's heard of him. His name's Marcus Bontempelli, plays for Western Bulldogs. Really nice up-and-coming player.
He has risen.
Yeah, he scored 159.
Yeah.
Played like he'd never left. Played like he'd never missed a game.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you want to know who else has come back and is performing like they've never missed a game? Zach Butters. He has scored 164 on the weekend. His score has improved every round since he's come back.
Both in 2.5% and 1.6% of teams. Like, that's such a small line separating people, isn't it?
We talk about there's probably there's a cash gen issue, and then there's people saying that if you don't have Butters or Dacos, one of those guys now, you're going to be left a long way behind. And then there's people saying that you got to get all three in, or otherwise there's going to get to a point in the season where there's just no return. There's no way up the ranks. And there's probably some truth to that. But I've seen people trading out some ridiculous players to get to these guys. I've seen people trading Jason Horne-Francis to get to Zach Butters. I've seen people trading Clayton Oliver to get to Marcus Bontempelli. I've seen people trading Caleb Sarong to get to Zach Butters. Like, come on, guys. We're supposed to be trading the rookies, not these premiums that we've already upgraded to. And yes, some premiums aren't performing the way that we want them to, but to use Clayton Oliver as an example, he has Richmond and West Coast over the next 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks, if he is still only scoring high 80s, low 90s, maybe that's when you get rid of him. But I think Clayton Oliver especially is one you got to hold on to. Caleb Sarong is struggling with tags at the moment, so I can see the reason why people would want to get rid of him. But
yeah, especially after the game on the weekend.
Shut up. Sorry,
I think
I still think he's not the guy to get rid of if you to get these players in. But man, how the hell are we supposed to get all three of these guys into our teams?
Hey, Damo, Devil's Avocado coming at you.
Go on.
What premium would you trade out for? Let's go with Marcus Bontempelli, because he's the most expensive. Would you trade Lockie Neal?
No.
Ooh. Would you trade Jack Sinclair?
No.
Okay. Would you trade George Hewitt?
Yes, maybe.
George Hewitt has a 5-round average of 135 and a season average of 128.
See, the only reason I'm so quick to say yes on George Hewitt is because I'm not convinced he can keep this up for the whole year. But he's done it for 6 rounds. So maybe he can. So maybe don't trade him.
That's fair. So there is no line for you. You think this is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I think the reality is, right, while I leave you to think about your avocado, we aren't always going to be able to get the most expensive players. The whole premise of this is that you buy players on a dip. Yes, Butters is great right now. Yes, Bont is great right now. Dacos is the only one that is achievable through some crafty use of money. If you have nothing, there is no sense in pulling apart your team and trading out a guy who, we talk about this, like the total math, right? You know, if you're trading out a guy who's getting 100 on average, say, for a guy who's averaging 130, there's really only a 30-point improvement every week on average, and you're outlaying about 200k more. So how is that really benefiting your team? In the long term, yes, it's another captain option and those kinds of things, but are you putting the captain on them every week, or do you have other options? Are you playing matchups? Like there's a lot more factors in this. So I don't think we should be tearing apart our teams. I think it's a bit catastrophizing to say if you don't get these guys, your season will be over. Because the reality is they're almost 700,000. So the only way that you're going to be able to get there is to gut your team of another premium.
So I'm just having a quick look now at my team specifically. If Mark Pitney does come back for Carlton, I don't love having Matthew Flynn at R2, but perhaps Tom De Koning to a Dacos or a Butters or a Bont is the only thing that I would do. And then once Matthew Flynn maxes out, that's when you get a premium back in your ruck line. That is the only scenario that I could potentially consider trading a premium for a premium, but it becomes a very circumstantial situation. And Tom De Koning has only made $19,000 on his starting price.
Okay.
So he hasn't been that boom selection in terms of getting you up to a Gorn or, well, you don't need to go up to a Cherry anymore, but to those kind of guys. He has been a good, serviceable ruckman for us, averaging 117, and now Pitney is back, but he hasn't come into the team yet. So until that happens, I don't want to react too quickly to a Tom De Koning.
Okay, that's fair.
Clarkie, St Kilda named a team on the weekend.
As they do every week.
Yeah, but one of the guys that they named lined up in their VFL team. So they made a late change.
Bastards.
There's another team that does this almost weekly. Geelong. So I'm dubbing this the Chris Scott trend.
Got him.
There are people who had Angus Hastie in their team and was hoping that he could be a scoring option for them. Some people had to... Obviously, people had their emergencies and all that, and I don't know what Angus Hastie would have scored, but there were people that sort of took apart their team a little bit to bring in Nick Dacos and was hoping that Hastie could hold for a couple of weeks or thereabouts to just sort of fill, to be a warm body for a little while. Well, warm body became cold on Sunday when they announced their sides and left not a lot of teams, but a handful of teams in the lurch. This is not good, Clarkie.
No, that's very bad. We don't like that. That's not very good. That's not very
And
good football. And you know what, St Kilda? Shame on you.
I've only put this on the run sheet just to be like, what the fuck are team doing? Because doesn't help anyone. Well, maybe it helps
You
someone,
selfish
but
pricks. St Kilda.
it doesn't help, and it doesn't help anyone in Supercoach, and that's what this podcast is about. Because Supercoach is the most important thing when we're doing this podcast.
My name is the Lorax, and I speak for the trees. Don't name players who are going to play in the VFL.
All right,
unserious club.
We've got a lot of questions, but before we get to the questions, there is two more things that we need to talk about. Sam Darcy did not rupture his ACL, so good for him, and hopefully we'll see him back in towards the end of the season. So yeah, that's good news, and it's the return of Clarkie's Spark.
Yay, it's back. What's going to happen this week is I'm going to ease into the spark by mentioning the name of a man who I've already suggested. And I think this is a good week to pick him up. And that's one Carl Amon. Carl Amon has been having an absolute ripper of a year in terms of role, in terms of everything that he does with the ball. He seems to be the main guy coming out of the Hawthorn defensive line. He's been part of set plays. He's got the vibes. He's got the price. And coming off the back of another big triple figure score. This is the week to trade in Carl Amon, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. All systems go. No looking back.
I really like this Spark, and I've just looked at his fixture. He has West Coast, then Richmond, then Melbourne, then Gold Coast, then Brisbane at the MCG, then Collingwood, then Western Bulldogs, then Adelaide, then North Melbourne.
Those all sound like winners to me.
That's a pretty good run, especially for his role.
Yeah, I just don't think I can look past him this week. I was going to try and bring in Dacos this week. I was, listeners. That would be sensible. I got to play catch up. I got to listen to all these cronies telling me that if I don't have Dacos, my year's over. My year's over. Well, joke's on them. My year's already over. So I'm having fun. Nick Dacos is boring. Carl Amon is fun. Carl Amon is cheap. And Carl Amon score good. He had two games. Did have two low games, which I know is probably going to be the biggest criticism, right? The back-to-back 79s. But when we talk about players a lot, it's role, guys. He had the role. He can score poorly. He's allowed to score poorly because it's a made-up fake game based on a sport that is not entirely predictable in any capacity, especially if you've been watching football this year. Buy him. What are you doing? Don't even listen to that. No, listen to the rest of the show and then go buy him. Buy him while you're listening to the show.
There you go. Carl Amon, Clarkie's Spark, the first official Spark of 2025. Now, Clarkie, put on your cowboy hat, rustle up your lasso, because we're going out and rustling up some questions.
Ladies, gentlemen, and my non-binary fineries, we're back on the ranch, baby. We're here.
We've got a lot of questions to get through, so thanks to everyone who sent in a question. This is more than we've had all year, so thank you so much for the questions.
We love you.
The first one comes from one of the many Tims, from Nebulous Tim. Hello, fellas. Looking at going 2 down, 1 up this week. Trainer, Moraes, and Kako to M. Carroll, Jay Tunstall, and Nick Dacos. What do you think about keeping Moraes or Kako and instead trading out Davidson for Ned Long? Love your work. Thanks in advance.
I think the part of this that I like the least is the idea of bringing in Tunstall after 1 game. I own James Tunstall in a keeper league, so I know for a fact that motherfucker never plays. He never plays. He's played 1 game. I think you might be jumping a little bit early. That being said, Nebulous Tim, I do like the idea of keeping Kako for just a little bit longer. As we said earlier, he scored well enough to keep his break-even relatively low, but also he's much better, I think, than Moraes in terms of a rookie. Getting rid of Davidson for Long is a whole other beast. There's a lot to like and there's a lot to not like. Having Nick Dacos, that's good. Having a rookie who's played 1 game and has question marks on job security in both Carroll and Carroll on the bubble, who also has question marks over job security, is bad. What do you make of this, Damo?
Yeah, so Matt Carroll, we've already spoken about. We don't know how that Carlton team looks once Lockie Cowan does come back in. Maybe Matt Carroll does hold his spot, but he has the sub vest. We're really not sure because we don't know what Carlton are going to do with their team selection. Same thing with Brisbane. James Tunstall, I was surprised he got a full game against Collingwood, if I'm honest.
He played
He's
well.
he played really well, but he's also been a guy that has seen the sub vest a lot of times when he has had his chances, and that's why he started the season at such a low price, such a low rookie price. So I think I like the Ned Long pick, but you're picking up a guy that has already made 100K. So how 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 long is Ned Long's piece of string going to be is the only thing that I'm not sure about, because he took a while to get into the game against Brisbane and then ended on a 96th, which was actually pretty good considering how he started. I think Trainer, I understand trading out Trainer, I understand trading out Moraes. I think you keep Kako. I would look at a trade where you only trade out Trainer and Moraes and see what you can do with that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think that's ideal. But to answer your question as is, I would probably say that trade is generally worth it as long as you know the risks. So make sure you have cover for Tunstall or a backup plan. Make sure you have cover for Carroll or a backup plan.
Very good.
Seems fair.
Next question comes from Tristan. Looks like Nick Dacos is a must-get this week as he would sadly likely smash my team, must be an Essendon fan, on Anzac Day, but at what cost? I can get him by trading out Trainer, Reid and Davidson for Flynn, Carroll and Dacos, but both Reid and Davidson are reasonable scorers that could make a little more cash. Alternatively, I could trade one of Oliver or Chera along with Trainer. Do not trade Oliver or Chera.
I like the trade as is. I think Reid has a little bit more money to make, but he's been a bit hot and cold, right? He's either scoring 40 or 400. Did I say Trainer or Reid? Which one did I say?
It fits for both.
It fits for both, and it goes for both. Davidson, I really like as a footballer, but you can't predict him to score 80s every week, the same thing. And I think at the end of this, you get Flynn, who's going to have his big bump, so that's good. You're going to get Carroll, who's about to have their big bump, and you get Dacos, who is the big bump. Yeah, the big bump. Does that work? Is that what the kids are saying these days? Hey, I love the football player. I call him the big bump.
The one thing that we have to remember with rookies is most of the time, the rookies that you have to begin your year, or the rookies that you're trading in to assist you in your trades, you're not keeping them long term, or your plan is not to keep them on your field long term. So yeah, Trainer, Reid and Davidson, you might be trading them a little too early, but you're turning, let's say, 360-point scorers for 100. Let's say a 90-point scorer in Flynn, and a 120-point scorer in Dacos. That already outscores the three guys that you're trading out. Plus Carroll on your bench, who, pending team selection, is going to continue your cash generation, and give you an option down the line to then use for a further upgrade. So I think the trade's a net win for you. It's just, you just got to make sure that because you're trading out Trainer, Reid and Davidson, who are reasonable scorers, as you say, and they could make a little more cash, just make sure the people that you're putting on field in their place can match or be better than what they're producing.
Agreed.
And don't trade Oliver or Chera.
Thanks, Tristan.
Next question comes from Moore. What round do you think most teams will be full primo by this year? Wondering what I should be targeting.
You should come out of the buys at full premium. I think
That's what most that's the plan that most people have. Shout out to our good friend Patch. He put out a poll on Twitter the other day, sort of just feeling out what how many rookies people had on field still, and the one that the poll option that won was 4. Some people at the moment, well, a lot of people that voted in that poll, most of them had 4. If I look at my team at the moment, I have 5. So, what round do you think most? Well, it takes. Yeah, I don't know if there will be a particular round where most people get to full primo, but out of the buys, people should be full primo.
Yeah, I think don't focus too much on targeting a specific time because things can change. Just try to make the best long-term move that you can make for your team every week, and you'll see the marathon, not a sprint aspect of Supercoach really comes into play this year.
And what is, I'll use a term that the coaches panel uses, bench hygiene. There are a lot of teams out there, and I'll put my hand up and say that I'm one of them. I don't have a lot of playing players on my bench. I'll have weeks where they can all be lit up green, and then I can go the next week and they're all lit up orange or not at all. So my bench hygiene is probably holding my team back because I'm having to trade players that are on my field rather than on my bench to make the moves that I want to make. So I'm having to be really careful with who I'm bringing in and the points I'm bringing in, and also the points that I'm trading out. So I'm being really, so what round my team is going to be full primo might be different to the round that Clarkey reaches full primo, or more yourself gets full primo if I talk to you directly. So I don't think there'll be a particular round that teams will be full primo, but I think everyone's aim should be you come out of the buys with a full primo team and some trades in the bank to use on the run home.
Correct. We have not adapted our methodology even with 40 trades. This is how we feel at the mailbag. We truly believe in that. We truly believe that you shouldn't rush your team development for the sake of it. You got to get the right guys at the right time. Thanks, Maul. Hopefully we'll hear more from you again. Is that good? Keep that in. Put some air horns behind it.
Next, I might put some sad violins behind it, to be honest.
Crickets. I'll open my window.
Next question comes from Matthew. My pod in Darcy that I've had since round 4 got injured. Sam Darcy. Is Bont an option now, or best to wait and instead bring in Dacos as I missed him this week? Look, if you can go Sam Darcy to Nick Dacos, that is a home run.
Yeah, I think so. It makes Nick Dacos is not going to get cheaper. He's not going to get cheaper. It's Clarky, you stupid, stupid man. You stupid, stupid man.
Yeah, so Sam Darcy to Nick Dacos. That is a great trade. No, nothing more from us, Matthew. Yeah, thanks for the question.
I don't think that you need to rush yourself to get Bont because he scored so well in one game. Bont is a great player, but he's still priced at 680, which is his starting price.
Yeah.
So he has to maintain this for weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon weeks, which I just don't think is possible.
Well,
this is a spike game, Damo.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
This is a spike game. He can average 120 easily, but he's not averaging 150.
Yeah, well, no, it's okay. Speaking of Patch, I mentioned him a couple of questions ago.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to know if he can borrow $680,000 for a Marcus Bontempelli.
Hey, Patch, you stayed on my Supercoach money. That moon money is mine, Patch.
If I had $680, it wouldn't be going to Patch. It would be going to me so I can pick Marcus Bontempelli for myself.
Yeah, and mine would be going to the Good Friday appeal. Because I'm not evil like you two, you selfish, you awful, awful men. But no, yeah, sorry. Banks shut, buddy.
The Footy Mailbag did donate $100 to the Good Friday appeal.
We did?
I didn't tell Clarky until we were recording, so that's why I had to say it out loud in this podcast.
Yeah, thanks for telling me.
Next question comes from Ro. He says, so in his first draft team picked back in the summer months, he had Bont and Butters. Due to circumstances and being bad at Supercoach, he ended up starting Neil and Sinclair. How do I change the fabric of time and space to now own Bont and Butters? No, to be serious, he is asking, is Will Ashcroft a keeper? Do I look at his average or his peak and trough scores?
That's a good question.
I could potentially turn him into a cash cow rookie turn him and a cash cow rookie defender into Bont. Thanks. Love the podcast.
Thanks, Ro. We appreciate you. I think that's such an interesting question because I think a lot of people are confused about whether they should look at a player's average, whether they should look at their high and low scores, whether they should look at their last 3 scores, 5 scores, no scores, whatever you think it is, because it's easy to just look at the number from last round, but it's hard to look at a player in totality. And my realistic answer to this is, if you can, where possible, try and watch minis of the games. If you can, if you get time. The number one thing that I have found that leads me to players that I like or players that give me the vibes, so to speak, is seeing what they're doing around the ball. So if you look at Will Ashcroft's 43 against Brisbane, well, if we look at the narrative of that game, it wasn't very positive for Brisbane. Their players struggled to score across the field in terms of Supercoach. Lachie Neale dragged himself to a paltry 110-ish. God, I regret starting Lachie Neale so much. It hurts me every time I look at it. But if you look historically at Will Ashcroft's scores, he's had at least 4 games in a row with triple figures, with the one other outlier being the Sydney game, which is a 73. In his upcoming fixture, he has St Kilda, Gold Coast, North, Melbourne, Hawthorn, Essendon, which is a pretty favourable run for Will Ashcroft, knowing what he's capable of and him showing what kind of role and how important he is to that Brisbane machine. I don't think there's an argument against keeping him, really. He's playing well. He had one or 2 bad games, and then he's strung 4 great games in a row.
Yeah, I think the 43 no Brisbane player played well against Brisbane. Let's be honest.
No, the hardest opponent that you have is yourself.
I was trying to say that a lot nicer, but let's be honest. No Brisbane player had a great game against Collingwood.
Yeah,
I think you keep Will Ashcroft for now. Is he a keeper? Well, once all your rookies are off field, you can then make that decision. But for now, he's scoring well enough outside of last week that I think he is someone you can keep in your side for now.
Agreed.
Next
but
question.
If you figure out how to turn back time, call me. Call me.
Very, very good. Yeah, call me as well. Send us a voicemail. Next question comes from Wayne. He has Tom De Koning and Kieran Briggs in his ruck line. He is looking for other options, got plenty of dollars.
Well. If it isn't a man on a shopping spree.
Man on a shopping spree.
We love to say it. Hey, look, can I interest you? I've got to sell you one little man who I know is back, and I say this with absolutely no bias. Max Gawn's back, baby. He's back.
Ooh, yeah, I like it. I like it.
Back in pog form. 117 against Shrek, Hodor, whatever his nickname is. Comes up against Nankervis.
And only 33k to go from Tom De Koning to Max Gawn if that is the move you make.
Hell yeah. Comes up against Nankervis, comes up against Flynn, comes up against Meek, and then Omac, who's also having kind of a mid-season, and then, grudge match against Brody Grundy. Max Gorn does it all around the ground. This is the thing. We've talked a lot about Max Gorn is a good Supercoach pick because he diversifies the way he makes points. And this week we've seen, again, an improvement in his ongoing score because Melbourne is playing better. They are improving. He's getting more effective hitouts, and he's also still doing it around the ground. He missed 2 shots on goal as well. So he kicks 2 goals. That 117 is a 130. Easy.
And I know Briggs scored 27 on the weekend, but Adelaide and GWS both barely combined for 100 points. So it was a low stoppage game. I think...
What do you think?
Do you trade Briggs or do you trade TDK if you only trade one? If you can trade Briggs to a Gorn, then I think that's the move. But I don't think it's a disaster if you can only trade TDK to get there.
Yeah. Hey, I'd like to throw out one insane suggestion because I said something too sensible. Brody Grundy has been quietly having a couple of good ones. That's what I'm saying. His 557 had a couple of good ones. Comes up against Jared Witts against Gold Coast, comes up against Kieran Briggs, and then comes up against nobody.
When you say insane, I didn't expect you to say Brody Grundy.
I just feel like he's not on the radar this year, right?
I thought you were going to say something along the lines of Todd Goldstein is 377k and will be leading the Essendon ruck line until the mid-season draft, at least.
And maybe even past that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I said something too measured. Hey, Vicentini, let me tell you guys, Essendon, no rucks. They got nothing. They're desperate. Who comes in? Vigo, the saviour. He has cometh. He's going to be locked into that team, baby. Call him Jordan Sweet 2.0. But in all seriousness, I think Brody Grundy has a really good run, and he's 550k.
Yeah. So, Wayne, Gorn, Grundy, run it back, my friend. And then if you're feeling crazy, Goldstein.
Flex, 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 flex.
I don't know how much I endorse that pick.
It's good that I'm slowly infecting you with the insanity. The Supercoach insanity. The curse of Ron, if you will.
Just play The Last of Us music over the top.
Which one of us would be Joel and which one of us would be Ellie?
I'd be a mushroom. Next question comes from Jared. Hey lads, loving the podcast again. Thanks, mate. I have an injured Darcy, Humphrey, and Murray's all on the chopping block with 160k in the bank. Another man going shopping, Clarky.
We love it. Go off, King.
Darcy to a premium. Is Dacos the best option / no better time to get him? And can we trust Matt Flynn? Last one is, if I get those two done, who is the best rookie to get? We'll have 325k to spend. Need a forward or mid? Do I go someone on the bubble or pay up for a Durden or Hewitt? Okay. So yes, I think Dacos is probably the best option. No better time to get him, especially considering the amount of money that you have to work with there. So Dacos, 100%, love it.
Correct.
Can we trust Matt Flynn? I think you can trust him for about a month. If they gave Bailey Williams a month, there is no reason they shouldn't give Matt Flynn a month. So I think you can trust him for a month. And at the end of the month, he's probably made all his cash anyway.
Fair enough.
So I think he's okay to trust for now. And then a rookie under 325k. Mate, you can go shopping anywhere, but there's a few options that you can go for. I don't know if you want them on field or not, but Corey Durden, yes, 206k on the bubble, has had 290 plus scores to begin his season. Elijah Hewitt returned and scored well against Essendon. Then there's some other options. Watch out for team selection. Neil Erasmus might come in for Jager O'Meara, but I said earlier in the podcast, he is a sub-risk, either red vest or green vest. Will White is only 147k, and I believe his break even is minus 47. He's another guy that you can look at. But again, I don't know about his job security. I don't know about job security about any of these guys, to be completely honest.
we have no security this week. Security is lacking. We sent all of
There-
our extra job security to the MCG for the Anzac Eve and Anzac Day games.
There are no gun rookies.
Well done, Damo.
Yeah, so I think whoever you decide is the best option, I don't think their job security is the greatest. But of the four that we've mentioned and of the guys that you can afford, Elijah Hewitt seems like the most logical guy to bring in, because I think he's going to go on a little bit of a run now that he's got a bit of confidence in him.
Yep. No notes from me.
Jared's also left us with some draft questions. We
I
don't
love
get
that.
a lot of draft questions, but
Yeah, this is good. This is fun.
Yeah. He has Matt Roberts on field and Jaden Short off field. Is John Noble a better option than these two, or would you just swap him for Short for bench coverage? And Ben Long over Liam Baker? ?
Yes, I like Ben Long. I own him in a keeper league, and that's been going pretty well lately. He's strung together a lot of really good stuff.
So I think Matt Roberts. So basically, he's asking Matt Roberts, Jaden Short, John Noble. Who would you have on field? Two of those three.
Roberts and Noble
Yeah, I think Roberts and Noble
this week.
Yep, excellent. And Ben Long over Liam Baker. Ben Long's having a really good season. Yes.
Thanks, Jared. Hope that helps. I don't know if we're good at draft or not. I don't know how that works. How do you measure how good you are at draft? I've got a couple leagues that are only in their second year.
Should I text Lekdog these questions?
No, it's fine. Just call him.
Next question. We've got another nebulous Tim.
Hey
lads, thoughts on any trade-in targets under 550k? Noting I got Petrarca last week. Anyone who you think could go top 6 to 8 in their line who may have bottomed in price? Cheers, Neb Tim.
All right, Neb Tim. Hang on. Let me put the old filters. on the old Super Coach app down here at the ranch. The reception, she not so good. What position do we say? Any trade-in targets? Any. Okay.
Any trade-in targets, yeah.
All
any
right.
line.
Dane Zorko is below 550. Boo. I hate that I'm saying that. Boo, Dane Zorko. But we
Nick
know
Martin
what he can do.
is available as a forward. He is 532k. I think he's top 6 to 8 forward, but maybe not top 6 to 8 in defense.
Carl Amon is 504,000. Le Spark of the week. Holy crap, there's a lot of great players under 550. Bailey Dale is 501. Steel Sidebottom, 512.
Did you really just say Steel Sidebottom?
He's been playing good. I don't care how old he is. You just got to ride them while they're good. You know how it goes. Connor Rosie is still 508 if you didn't pick him up now playing a halfback role. I think that about covers me.
Yeah, I think that about covers it.
Yeah, Rankin's still pretty cheap
For
as well.
guys that could be top 6 to 8 in their line, I think that about covers it.
Yeah. Hey, if you want some more speculative picks though, Jake Bowie, 440. For some reason, he's now what's holding together our defensive line. And I don't know when it happened, but God bless that little ginger boy.
One of my favourite picks that people are trading in is Jai Newcomb.
Oh, why?
549k. He scored 134 on the weekend.
Oh, and he plays West Coast this week.
He has West Coast, Richmond, and Melbourne over his next 3.
Yep.
And
then after that gets tagged for the rest of the season.
And he's only got 2 scores below 90, and his lowest score is 81 so far. So that's a pretty good floor.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Is he going to be top 6 to 8 midfielder? I doubt it.
No, absolutely not.
But I think he'd be fun to own for a little while.
Yeah. We're all about fun here.
All right. So, Tim, I think your options, Nick Martin, Bailey Dale, Dane Zorko.
Boo. Boo. Hey, Connor Rosie.
And Connor Rosie.
I think he has potential to be a top
But people are bringing in Connor Rosie assuming that he gets defensive eligibility in the middle of the season.
Carl Amon.
And, of course, Carl Amon, yes. Next question comes from Chubbs Peterson.
Hey, Chubbs. Hey, I hope you got your hand back in heaven, brother.
Do you view Petrarca as a top 6 forward? I can bring him in this week, or is there another forward I should bring in instead? I think Petrarca is going to be pretty close to a top 6 forward if he's doesn't make that final cut. And if the forward line is where you're looking to bring in a premium, I think there is no better guy than Petrarca with Richmond and West Coast in their next 2 games.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what's going on with Old Track. Yeah. Didn't really. He got 25 disposals on the weekend against Freo, but I don't really feel like I felt his impact on the game. Does that make sense? The vibes were off for me, but I agree with you that I don't think there's a better forward option. Right? Like that's the main stickler of this question, really, is that the main quote unquote better forward options are guys like maybe Rankin.
Most people would already have him. Maybe Chubbs already has him. So
maybe Chubbs already has. Maybe Rankin. Maybe I don't know. Matthew Kennedy apparently is currently a top 6 forward. Holy shit! What is happening this year? What is going on? I would have said Sam Darcy prior to the injury. Hey, look, you want to mention another old man since I've already said Steel Sidebottom's name? Patrick Dangerfield, for some reason, is just kicking multiple goals every week now. And he is a pest. Just something about him, like, I'm sure he's a lovely man, but just something about watching him play football just angries up my blood. I don't know if you get that, Damo. Just these players, I'm like, oh, someone needs to take you down a peg, but I'm not sure why, because you're probably lovely.
Yeah, I don't know. If you want to go back to the good old days where Patrick Dangerfield is your F1, but he's not your F1, he's actually your F6 rotating off the bench, then he's an option, but I think Petrarca is the best option.
Yeah, that's fair.
Next question comes from Tim Prime of Nebulous Tim.
Hey, Tim Prime.
Hi guys, with rookies drying up fast, is it worthwhile this week bringing in Carroll for Trainer or Reed? Even though we're not the sub, they both likely have better on-field scoring potential. I am tempted to hold Trainer with the news about Bolter's curfew, meaning he will miss night games, and still have loop potential with Reed as I still have Leak. What are you both doing?
Laughing at Noah Bolter getting a slap on the wrist and everyone acting like he's been shot. Fuck that guy. But also, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and we've spoken about Carroll. We're like, do you trade... Actually, Damo, here's the real question. Do you trade job security for cash?
I'm holding Trainer because I believe that he can get close, if not pass, his break-even. So his break-even could even reset from next week if he gets close to that 74. So I'm holding him. I still think there's money to be made. I think he's still got another 50 to 75k left in his cap generation from this price point where he is now. So I'm holding him and just gonna sit through that break even resetting a bit like I did with Xavier Lindsay. So I don't think Carroll is a must trade in, and Trainer or Reed have the better job security than Carroll overall. So is it worthwhile? I think you can wait for a better rookie to come along, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Hey, Damo, just before we move away from the ranch, from out the back here, I actually have a bit of late mail from Con has messaged us and asked us, how concerned should we be about TDK? He isn't filling the stat sheet, and Champion Data has saved his score 2 weeks in a row. What do we do with a problem like TDK?
I don't think we need to worry too much about him just yet. He isn't playing like he was earlier in the season, But hey, while champion data is saving him, let them be superheroes, I guess.
Can you take me higher?
But in saying that, I did say earlier that I possibly would entertain a TDK to Dacos, but I don't love having Matt Flynn at R2.
That's fair. Con, you can do that, but I want you to know that you're not legally required to take bad advice. Legally, you are required to take our good advice, but we don't know the results until the next week, so often it's useless.
All right, well, that's all the questions for this week. Clarky, I posted the traffic lights last week, and
You did.
there was much elation
The people
when
rejoiced.
the first midfield square was lit up with a player, and that player was actually Nick Dacos.
Hell yeah, that's right.
So
Ron
has the curse
left.
not only been lifted, but has the square now been anointed?
Super powered with all the Supercoach deity goodness. Now, we revere the Supercoach gods, we revere the fantasy gods. However, when you are cursed, you got to get rid of that curse. And we lifted it, Damo. We did everything right. Pat on the back.
We lifted it for 1 week anyway.
At least. We'll see. Results may vary.
Yeah, there will be a late traffic lights this week. It will be out on Friday morning, just due to scheduling and things happening in personal lives. I can't
Mostly
get
Damos.
I can't get the traffic lights up in time before the Melbourne Richmond game. So sorry about that. Trainer would be yellow. Cozzy Pickett would be also yellow, slightly greenish yellow. And yeah, those would be the two guys.
Max Gorn Green.
Oh, and Max Gorn Green. So those would be
if we put him on the thing, but I don't think we would have.
If we were going to put him on there, yeah. So those are probably the most relevant guys there. Petrarca was green last week. Oliver would be a yellow to tell you to hold him. So yeah, so you're not missing too much. I've just told you what they would be if they were on there. But yeah, keep a lookout for our traffic lights across our socials and on our website. Our traffic lights are a guide where we'll grade some players each week. They'll either be given green, yellow, or red ratings. Green indicates a good pick. You should trade this guy in. Yellow is a watch or a hold. Yeah, you watch that guy. You don't trade him. He's going to be fine. And then red is a trade or avoid. Get that guy yeeted into the sun. A player could earn their rating for several reasons, including but not limited to scoring potential, job security, price point, reliability, or injury status. This week, it'll be out on Friday once Sunday teams are confirmed. Actually, no, before the Anzac Day game. So before Sunday teams are confirmed. I might do a one after the Anzac Day game if teams decide to, ruin our lives with the Sunday teams. But it'll be out on Friday morning before the Anzac Day.
It'll be out on one of the days.
It'll be late, but it'll be out on Friday sometime.
Yeah, and you know what? Just be grateful you got one. If you don't like it, make your own.
All right, we've reached that point.
Usually aggressive to our listeners.
Yeah, wow. I don't know how to proceed. We've reached that point in the show where Clarky needs a nap. No, we've reached that point in the show where we now talk about our vice captains and captains. Clarky, who is your vice captain this week?
My vice captain for the week that is going to be Max Gorn against Toby Nankervis, breaking Lekdog's cardinal rule of putting the VC in the first game. I don't know. I like Max Gorn. Feels good. He's probably one of the better options I've got this week. Looking at the schedule, yeah, I think that's probably the best way it works out, pending on my loop. Oh god, where is my loop? Where is it? Other ones I like in these early games is Andy Brayshaw has just been a solid 120 guy. That's good. That's good enough for me. And Connor Rosie against North Melbourne, maybe. Spicy, but maybe. But it's Max Gorn, really.
Yeah, I like that. I like Max Gorn.
Who's yours, Damo?
Yeah, my VC is Andy Brayshaw.
Hell yeah.
But not locked in.
Right.
I feel like he's too safe to be a VC. I like to chase a bit of upside with my vice captain, so I might choose to go somewhere else. I don't know exactly where I might go. Maybe an Isaac Rankin. I don't like vice captaining guys against Fremantle, but the way Cozzy Pickett tore Fremantle a new asshole, then I feel like Isaac Rankin can do similar.
What happened? Sorry, I didn't see the game. Is that did Melbourne
Clarky,
win?
who's your captain?
It's a really tough week for me to pick. I don't know how I feel about any of my good captain options. I'm probably thinking maybe Horn Francis against North, just because he's playing a little bit more forward than he is just around the ball. So it seems to make sense to me that he will either kick 4 goals and get like 28 disposals, or he will do absolutely nothing. So I'm really banking on that Max Gawn. Alternatively, I also like Tristan Sherry, because Tristan Sherry is rucking against Jordan Sweet. And that seems good for Sherry. I don't know. I have no data to back this up. I'm just going purely off vibes and who I've got available in my team. Damo, who have you got?
Yeah, I do like Tristan Sherry against Jordan Sweet. I also like Lockie Whitfield against the Bulldogs.
You think?
Oh yes, I think.
Okay, I was letting you elaborate more on that if you feel like it.
He scored 153 last time they met at Mars Stadium.
Okay.
And 112 and 102. So he hasn't gone below 100 in either of the last 3 games that they've played.
Okay. That seems fair. Good choice.
Cool. Well, that's our vice captains, and that's it for this episode of the Footy Mailbag.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for listening.
If you haven't given us a rating on your listening platform of choice, please do so. It helps new listeners find us. Clarky, where can people get in contact with you?
Hey, people can find me on Twitter. I'm at QuantumJC, but mostly you can hear me over at the Falcon Footy Pod. We're at Falcon Footy Pod on everything, where I talk about the round that was with my good co-hosts, Cass, Jesse, and Christopher. Damo, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm at DamoSC on Twitter. You can add an underscore after that for Instagram, and you can find us at the Footy Mailbag on pretty much every social media there is.
You can also find us over at thefootymailbag.net, where our podcast feed is. We have merch. We have written content occasionally. The traffic lights are posted there every week. And also, all the links to our socials are on there. But most importantly, the form to submit a question is on there. If you don't have social media, or you're not keen to go on social media because they're all pretty much trash at the moment, you can just submit your question via the Google form, or by sending it through as a voice note. That we have yet to receive one. We're going to need one brave soul to submit that first voice note and open the floodgates onto the ranch. But hey, you don't have to. We appreciate you engaging with us. It's nice. We love you.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll talk next time.
See you.